Welcome to Valheim, a game about surviving in the 10th Norse world, advancing your technology and slaying mighty creatures. My name's Gooflump, and I've spent a fair amount of time in Odin's Proving Ground. Today, I get to take my friend on his first adventure in these unforgiving islands. Join us as we explore, fight, and take more damage from gravity than from most enemies. It's time for Valheim. Alright, welcome to Valheim. You'll be here soon. God, I love this game. This is so fun. Every Viking adventure begins the same. You get dropped off at a rock formation in the middle of the meadows with nothing but a torch and a dream. These rocks represent each of the bosses that exist in the world, and it's our job to bring their heads back here in exchange for supernatural powers. But before we can get to slaying undead kings or insect queens, there's one or two tasks that need doing.
Jumping skill improved. I'm so excited.
So, first thing we do in any playthrough, come over here and hit this. Oh my god, it's right next to us. Wow, okay. That runestone shows us where the first boss will be, giving us our first goal. Keeping that in mind, we set off to find somewhere picturesque to put a roof over our heads. We had our first taste of battle, ate our first snack, and scavenged some resources. Then we decided to follow the river east until we found the sea. It was a pretty landscape, and we decided to call it our first home. We did a lap of our newly claimed territory, gathering anything that wasn't nailed down, and even some things that were, and managed to score ourselves one of the greatest items for early game Valheim. A bee.
And how do I...
It was nighttime before we got around to building our first hut. We were content with modest beginnings, and soon enough we had somewhere relatively safe to store our loot.
Like that seems relevant.
And most importantly,
Oh, we need to put our bees. And put our bees.
with a roof finally over our heads, we could begin to plan what the next few days would look like. Our main goal was to kill Eikthyr, the lightning deer boss. To do that, we needed better food, some prettier gear, and we needed bows. First on our list, though, is food. Up till now, we've been snacking on berries and mushrooms that we can find throughout the forest, but Vikings need meat. We can cook some by building a cooking station over an open flame. One of my personal favorite tricks is to stack as many of these stations over one flame as I can to maximize efficiency. And it's fun. The quality of food that you eat is fairly important. Berries and things that you can find out in the wilderness are usually the lowest tier, but once you start to cook things and put some effort into it, then the quality starts to improve. In the corner of the screen here, we've got 3 slots. This is our stomach, and we can only have 3 types of food active at any time. Every type of food has certain stats attached to it that you gain when eating. They last for a little while, then you have to eat again. We spent the next couple of days gathering resources and making improvements to the base, until it came time that we decided to make ourselves our first potent weapon. Weapons are the second way, after food, to keep your doom at bay. Offense is the best defense and all that. Smack the enemies harder and faster than they can smack you. There's a lot of variety when it comes to your choice of big stick, but we'll get into that later. For now, our choice of big stick is the crude bow. Still, about the one time I hyperfixated on gathering his server resources.
We keep talking about that, yeah. You like clear cut an entire like forest.
Yep. With this new upgrade in hand, hunting the skittish deer around our area becomes much easier, and I spend the next few days hunting whatever I can find, while Kaden enacts some deforestation back home, which affords me a good stockpile to begin our first round of proper base expansion. With the base feeling roomier, we headed out on another hunting trip to gather the final materials we'd need for armor upgrades before the boss fight. And before long, we were ready. With bellies full and arrows aplenty, we placed the sacrificial deer heads on the altar and began the fight.
Nice, you got him.
Beauty. Alright.
Alright, our metal deer. Like, there's a bit of a joke, honestly. Nice block.
And honestly, I'm kinda right. Exthier is a bit of a joke. He's got a few attacks that are dangerous, plus he shoots a lot of lightning out of his horns, but as long as you've got decent early game gear...
Yeah, I feel like with fire arrows and 2 people, this boss is just not super scary.
No.
Or you can just dodge. It's a pretty straightforward fight.
Like, I've got base armor, a flint dagger, and I'm out DPS in this thing. Nice.
Boom. Got him.
Submit.
So we did it again.
I've dodged, like, every one of his attacks for the past minute.
Beauty.
Wilson, this is for you.
Our enemy vanquished. We went home to reset and resupply before bringing our prize to the place where every Viking begins to claim our prize.
Oh, there it goes. Oh, weird. I don't know why it didn't work the first 19 times I tried it.
It's a weird thing. I can't tell you.
Yeah.
I wish I could.
That's very strange.
Dark Forest time.
Hell yeah, let's do it.
With the first of 6 bosses dead, we had passed our first milestone, and gained access to a few new tools. We gained the power of Ecthier, with the press of the F key, the ability to run and jump with far less stamina cost for 5 minutes, a very powerful tool for running long distance. We also now have access to a pickaxe, by attaching some of Ecthier's very hard antlers to a stick. If it works, it works. This will let us mine the small tin nodes or larger copper nodes found in the more dangerous forests outside our safe haven. Having gained as much as we could from the meadows, it was time to venture further into the Black Forest. The first thing on our little gremlin minds was upgrades. We wanted shinier tools. Our new picks were put to good use as Kaden and I gathered as much ore as we could carry. You can either just mine straight down on copper nodes, but I usually like to unearth them and hope that gravity does all the work. It may not feel very efficient, but it does make the brain make the feel-good juice. All the loose stone and copper is easily gathered and popped into a chest. But now comes the task of bringing it back home. Our characters can only carry a weight of 300 pounds, and writing this made me go on a bit of a tangent. So, according to Scandinavian facts, there were remains of ancient Norsemen who were believed to be up to 140 kilograms, or just over 300 pounds, which is pretty freaking huge. But there's no guarantee that every Viking was so large, in quotes. But I also interpret that as no guarantee that every Viking wasn't bigger. So them's some pretty large dudes. Also, get this. A 10th century Viking bow discovered by archaeologists had a pull weight of around 100 pounds. The average 160-pound man would probably use a bow with a 40-pound pull weight today. That to me is nutty. Anyway, our Vikings can carry up to their own body weight without becoming over-encumbered, which slows us down to a crawl and makes us sweat profusely, but also drains our stamina as we move and doesn't let us regain it back. We can only take 18 pieces of copper at a time without getting the debuff, so it takes a few trips to get it all back. Now comes the issue of smelting. We've managed to make it home with pockets full of raw copper and tin, but we need to turn it into ingots that we can craft with. This step requires Surtling cores, little cubes powered by flame magic. 5 of them at least, preferably 10. These are found in dungeons that are scattered throughout the Dark Forest and have become our next target. The Dark Forest itself is a pretty significant difficulty spike. Larger groups of tougher enemies will spawn, as well as a new type of enemy, the skeleton. These guys come in 2 types, melee and ranged. The melee ones are tougher to take down, but easier to avoid, whereas the ranged ones can deal a significant amount of damage from out of nowhere, and while they're easier to kill, taking them lightly can be a fatal mistake.
So I see a dungeon entrance here.
I'm dead.
Uh-oh.
I got too greedy.
What killed you?
Skeleton archer.
Okay.
I thought I could stagger it. Couldn't.
Fortunately, death means little to a Viking. All your items get placed in a headstone where you perished.
Here rests it Goopy. Rip in pieces.
You also lose any buffs you had in your previous life, and, more importantly, some of the hard-earned skills you acquired in your adventures. Losing stats hurts, but Valheim tries not to be too brutal. For the next 10 minutes after you pass, you gain a buff called No Skill Drain, which gives you the freedom to die again and not lose stats. This buff gets reset after each death, so if you find yourself in a rapid downward spiral, your stats at least shouldn't hit rock bottom. Having absolutely not learned my lesson, I respawned at base, filled my tummy, and hoofed it back to seek some revenge. Feeling vindicated, we pushed on and began to explore a dungeon. These dungeons are a claustrophobic series of gloomy rooms and hallways filled with skeletons and ghosts. The mushrooms are perfectly safe too, trust me. But with the goal of Surtling cores in the back of our minds, we push on. Going too quickly can be lethal, so pulling back when a fight isn't looking so good is always a good strategy.
Whew.
So if you get up on this little ledge, run, melee fighters can't get you.
If things still aren't looking up, then a full tactical rear advancement is always available.
I'm running away. Can they come out of the dungeon?
No, they cannot come out of the dungeon.
Okay.
We decided at this point that the risk of dying was quite high, and despite my willingness to throw my corpse at the problem over and over again, Kaden's wisdom won out, and we decided to build ourselves an outpost to reset our spawn points right next to the dungeon. With the outpost completed, we emptied our inventories and got ready for round 2. And that's why we built the outpost. Alright, a third tries the charm. See, it's times like these that I wonder if I'm not going into this with the right mindset, with the right strategy, with the right gear. Then I wake up and say nope, and then do it again. See, I have a bit of a habit that once I die once in a dungeon, I just throw my body at it over and over and over and over until eventually I find the time to make a play. Took a few lives, but in the end, the Vikings always triumph. And with that, the loot room is ours to, well, loot. We gather all the certain cores we need to begin turning our lumps of ore into workable ingots. We ferry our gains back to our main base, deposit what we can, build ourselves a furnace to convert wood into coal and a smelter to combine coal and raw ores into ingots. With metal on the way, we decided to call it quits for our first day of adventuring. We had made lots of progress, cleared our first boss, and made great strides in our technology. Next time, we hunt the Elder. Thanks for watching.